In the village of Kandali, nestled deep in the savannah, lived a humble but deeply wise woman named Nia. She wasn't a typical princess, for her role in the village was one of peace and healing rather than rule and command. Her mother, Mambo, was the village healer, respected for her knowledge of herbs and remedies passed down through generations. Nia, too, had inherited the healing arts, but she lacked the outward strength and confidence that her sisters, Zuri and Amina, had. Nia's mother had passed away when she was young, leaving her with only the wisdom of her ancestors, taught in quiet corners of their modest hut. Nia loved the silence of the forest and the gentle whispers of the wind through the trees. People spoke of her gentle spirit, a woman who could heal both body and heart, but who rarely spoke, keeping mostly to herself. Her quiet nature made her the subject of gossip, with some villagers calling her the Silent One. But that year, the Festa of the Spirits, the festival where young women of the village would choose their husbands, was fast approaching. Each year, the village's elders would gather in the great square, and the men would perform their feats of strength, intelligence, and bravery to prove themselves worthy of the princess's love. Zuri and Amina, Nia's lively and outgoing sisters, were adored by many suitors. They had no shortage of attention, with their beauty and lively personalities often drawing the gaze of the village. But Nia's quiet and reserved demeanor left her untouched by the attention of the men who came to seek a bride. Still, Nia had a deep sense of knowing within her heart. She knew that love, to her, was not about displays of strength or wealth. She dreamed of a love that would see her for who she truly was, not just a crown or the healing hands she had inherited. One afternoon, while walking to the sacred baobab tree to gather herbs, Nia overheard the elders speaking about the festival. "This year, I fear Nia will not find a worthy suitor," one elder, Mzikalasi, said, his voice filled with concern. "She is a quiet girl, but I wonder if she will ever find a man who understands the true meaning of courage." Nia paused, her heart heavy with their words. She knew the village's customs. Strength and power were often equated with a good match, while gentleness and patience were undervalued. But Nia had always believed that courage could take many forms. That evening, as the festival drew near, the village came alive with excitement. The square was filled with the scent of roasted meats, the sounds of drumming, and the bright colors of the woven baskets and bright cloths draped around the marketplace. The men who came to present themselves were eager to prove their worth, showing off their skills in spear throwing, wrestling, and horse riding. But for Nia, this spectacle held no interest. Her thoughts were far from the competition. Instead, she quietly sat in her mother's old hut, tending to the herbs that had become her second language. The day of the festival arrived, and the men, strong, beautiful, and boastful, were ready. They took turns performing their feats. One man, Kofi, a well-known warrior, impressed the crowd with his display of strength, slaying a bull with a single blow. Another, Tariq, a successful farmer, brought baskets full of grains and fruits, offering them with pride as symbols of his success. They waited eagerly, eyes fixed on the three princesses, as the time to choose drew near. Nia watched, her heart heavy. She had no desire for wealth, nor did she care for feats of strength. She wanted a partner who would understand the land, the quiet wisdom of the earth, and the deep connection between soul and spirit. It was in this quiet place that she began to wonder, was there anyone in the village who would see her heart for what it truly was? As the evening sun dipped low and the festival reached its peak, the moment arrived. The princesses, Zuri, Amina, and Nia, stood together at the front of the crowd. The suitors were lined up, waiting for the princesses to make their choice. Zuri and Amina, ever so lively, quickly made their decisions, choosing men who were handsome and strong. But Nia, the quietest, stayed silent. No suitor dared to approach her, for they knew she was not like her sisters. Just as the crowd began to murmur, a figure stepped forward from the edge of the square. It was Jabari, the quiet man who worked as a carpenter. No one had expected him to step forward. He was known for his humility, often seen carving wood in the village corner, his head always bowed in focus. Jabari had no wealth, no boasting, and no grand display of strength. He was simply a man of the earth, with a deep understanding of its rhythm. "I wish to offer something different," Jabari said in a soft but clear voice. "I do not seek your gold, nor do I boast of strength, but I offer you this: the strength to listen, the courage to stand beside you in silence when words fail. I know the forest and the wind as well as I know myself. I understand the value of patience, of waiting for the right moment, of standing still when all others rush forward. The crowd fell quiet. Nia's heart stirred. Here was a man who understood her, who didn't seek to impress with grand displays but offered something much deeper: the gift of understanding. Jabari's challenge was simple. He would spend 3 days alone with Nia in the forest with no distractions. During this time, they would speak only when necessary, but they would live and breathe the land, finding their connection not through words or titles, but through shared silence and mutual respect. For 3 days, Nia and Jabari walked through the forest, gathering herbs, listening to the wind in the trees, and speaking only when their hearts felt the need. Jabari's patience was boundless, his understanding of the land vast. As they sat by the stream, watching the water flow, Nia realized that this was the kind of love she had always sought. One that didn't demand to be heard above the noise, but instead listened to the quiet wisdom that life whispered to them. By the end of the 3rd day, Nia knew that Jabari was the one who saw her for who she truly was. When they returned to the village, Nia stood before her people, her heart calm and full. She looked at Jabari, her gaze speaking more than words ever could. "I choose Jabari," she said softly, "for his courage to understand what is not spoken, for his strength in silence, and for his love that is as deep as the earth." The village was shocked. Jabari, the quiet carpenter, was not the hero they had imagined, but in his humility, he had proven himself the truest of them all. The villagers whispered, realizing that the true measure of strength was not in outward appearances, but in the heart's quiet courage to understand and love without boasting. And so Nia and Jabari's love blossomed. They became partners in both life and in the village, working together to heal the sick, tend to the crops, and raise a family grounded in wisdom, silence, and understanding. The festival that year became the story of the silent warrior and the healing princess, a tale passed down through generations, reminding all who heard it that the quietest hearts can sometimes hold the greatest strength.